Welcome back to Leading Our Own Way this week, the final part, part 3. Yes, we're 3 parts this week. We're testing the 3 format here on YouTube. It's Helen Pollard, and it's Helen Pollard's transformative, can't speak today, it's late, it's midnight, leave me alone, her transformative story here in Leading Our Own Way. Over the past 2 days, we've heard how Helen turned dyslexia into entrepreneurial strength and built incredible communities around her businesses. But now we're getting to the heart of her journey, the complex family dynamics that shaped everything. In today's episode, Helen opens up about her relationship with her father, the courage it took to start fresh in Australia, as a lot of people do know, me included, and how she's learned to navigate the messy, complicated reality of family while building her own path forward. This is where Helen's story gets real, raw, and incredibly relatable for sure. If you ever struggled with family relationships while trying to build your own life, this episode is definitely for you. Enjoy. Here's Helen. So with being in Australia, how did then that back, obviously you've got a life still back in England, with especially with the difficult times with the dad, the father. I remember in our chat that you mentioned something about being in court in Australia as well, and having to talk back in the UK. What was that about?
Yeah, that was like, it turned into a comedy, because me and our mum now are just like, this is a joke. So what happened is my dad appealed for us being out here. So I think it was about 6 months, and we got a court hearing, and we had to
6 months in being in Australia.
Yeah,
He wanted you back there.
So we're in Australia, been here for 6 months, and last grab of straws of control because when we left in the court, and we walked down the steps of the court, he turned to me and went, "You'll never make anything of yourself." He said, "You'll never make anything of yourself. You and your mum you'll just be, you need me." And he said, you'll never make. And so to hear that from him was, at the time, was devastating. Was like, oh, and you'll never make anything of yourselves. Anyway, so within 6 months, it was 6 months being here, we got a court summons to appear in court, and apparently he had some new evidence of proof of, we hadn't abide by what we were meant to do in the court hearing to when we were coming, that we had to give him address if we moved, and contact numbers and things like that. And we had it all documented. Every time I sent an email, I made sure I saved that email. I said, just in case.
Yeah.
That was the requirements. Anyway, he took us to court to say we hadn't done any of that. He couldn't get in contact. He'd been trying for months, nothing at all. He's been trying to ring, and we hadn't given him anything. So we were up at the Telstra Towers in Melbourne, and we got this big suite, and it was like a newsreader. We had these big chairs, and we had these big cameras. And so me and my mum were just joking around, and all of a sudden it goes live, and it's live to the court in Middlesbrough. And we're there, and have to give evidence, and I had to prove and send in the emails and talk about stuff. And it was just an absolute palaver, and it got thrown out of court. But I wasn't meant to be there when my mum was giving evidence, and my mum wasn't meant to be there when I was giving evidence, but we just went off camera, and obviously there. And I remember my mum was like, she could sit looking at me, and she really wanted a cup of tea, and she's like, oh, anyway. So she's like, can you get me a cup of tea? Can you get me a cup of tea? So anyway, so I made her a cup of tea, and I sort of slid it onto the table, and then it sort of slid across the camera as if it was like this magical cup of tea. And then all of a sudden the judge was off camera, and I just popped his head like this onto the screen, and he's like, unless I've got magical powers there in Australia, something like that, teas don't float, so I think, Miss Pollard, you need to leave the room. And then it was like, and then we were just like pissing ourselves laughing, and you really have got to take this serious. And we just were like, this is just a joke. Like, we've had 7 or 8 years of this battling, and the stories and the lies and the tears in court, and then outside being like, well, I'm not your babysitter, so I'm not coming. And so anyway, I obviously then would, be partly out the room, and you know what I mean? So it was just experiences that are just funny to us, and we laugh about that, and we share that with Elizabeth and Lucy. We just think it was a funny period of time, and ever since then now we just live our lives. Like, we haven't heard from him. We've heard nothing. The only time I nearly had contact with him was I went back to England when me and Michael, my partner, my husband, was getting married, and I wanted to invite Anna. So I said, so I did some investigating, found out where she was living, and through some friends of a friend, luckily Facebook and stuff like that. And I had a wedding invite for her. And so we were going over, we got married in Thailand. So I went to Thailand to see where we were going to get married and liaison with all the people. And we went to England for a little bit and got there, and this Polish lady answered the door, and straight away she was like, "Oh my God, Helen, you're Helen." And I'm like, "Yes." And I thought, oh, maybe Anna had spoke about me. And she's like, "Oh, no, I am Tony's partner or wife or something like that." And then I realised Anna was still living with my dad, and that was his house.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was just like, "Oh, well, I've got, no, come in." I was like, "Is my dad here?" And he's like, "No. And I went in, and I was like, "Is Anna due home soon? Is she coming?" "Oh, no, she's away. She's away at the RAF." And I was like, "Oh," and she could see I had this invite in my hand, and she's like, "Oh my God, the long lost sister, and oh, he lost all his girls, and his wife took them away. Oh, they're living in Australia now." And I said, "Yeah, we are." I said, "But the girls are happy. We're happy. We didn't like," and I thought, I can't go into all this stuff now. I thought, I'm not going to, I just felt sick. And I just said, "Look," I said, "I can't be here." He's like, "Oh, your dad will be coming home soon. He's getting a flight. He's coming in." And I was just like, "I've got to go. I've really got to leave." And there was pictures of us as children up on the walls as children. And he'd gone to university. He's like, "Show me a picture of him at university. And he's a different man, and he's academic, and, all this." And I said, "Oh, well, he probably is. As long as he's happy, that's fine." But I had to just get out of there. I felt sick. And I could have probably coped with it. I probably would have gone, "Right, okay, how are you? I'm here for Anna." I just couldn't leave the invite because I thought, God, if he rocks up,
He turns up, yeah.
that would have just been awful. So I never got to give Anna that's a big regret. Anna is my biggest regret.
Yeah.
It's not.
I was going to ask you
I could
that.
have done more. I really, I'm gonna get this bit now.
That's okay.
I really feel like I could have done more. I could have, I was the one in between, and because we saw trying to keep the family together and support mum and how do you explain to a 14-year-old that dad's lying, manipulating, he's using you, and and she was so adamant, mum's lying. So they're really, what's devastating is they really set us off against each other. They really pitted us against each other, really. And mum was only really saying what dad was doing. He wasn't paying maintenance. He was lying. He would come back from being overseas, and as soon as he got into the country, he'd sign on. He'd say he wasn't even working.
Yeah.
So that when he went to the courts, he's like, "Oh, but I'm on the dole, and I've got one of them, so I'm going to support that. I can't support the other kids at all." And so I think with Anna, when I used to go back, we used to go back every other year. I'd try and reach out, and there was no contact, no response. And one of my best friends in England had been on. She's very outdoorsy, very adventurous, and she was a leader at this the Lake District. When you go on them adventure days, like you take the kids and you camp in Coniston. I think there's you take the kids and you the school trips. And my friend is a teacher, and Anna was there, but she called herself Charlie. She changed. She wasn't called Anna. And my sister, my best friend, my friend Amy, she wrote to her after that and said, "Please, this is Helen's address. This is Helen's phone number. Please connect with her. That's in the past." We were probably in our, because I'd have been in Australia, so we would have been probably 25. So she was 3 years younger, so she would have been in her early 20s.
Yeah.
So it's a long time from 14, like a long time had passed.
Yeah.
But she just said it was too hurtful. It's too, she also feels that we obviously abandoned her as well when we did go to Australia as well, because even though she was having the RAF, I think she always thought we would be there just in England as well. Like if she ever wanted to connect, and Australia feels so far away,
Yeah.
and that's really difficult.
Do you
But
understand why she would feel that?
it's hard when your mum says she's leaving to go to the other side of the world, no matter how old you are. That's difficult.
Yeah.
It's really difficult.
Yeah.
And they never really have really spoken, so it's always been through me, and you know.
How's your mum in all of this then, not having one of her daughters not speaking to her?
We haven't really chatted about it recently, and obviously she's devastated when she was when it happened. Like we went to court over it. We specifically got lawyers in. We need to get her back. We tried to get it back. We went to the police first. We went to psychologists to try and do mental health reports around it, saying that she's only a young girl. She's very, he's really sort of using her, and it's can also maybe potentially be some manipulation. So is that abuse, mental abuse?
Yeah.
Because he would be away a lot. So she was at home doing domestic chores, domestic stuff.
Yeah.
Like she was running the household. Like he was away, but. So we were saying that she's on her own, but she just turned 15. Like it was like that cusp of it. She was like just turned 14 and 13, 14. It's a bit different story, but when you're 15, you're seeing it's like a different light.
Yeah.
I think I was hoping time would have healed. And I hope that she's happy. I hope that she's found someone or found her thing and found her joy. And I wonder, like, because she went from having a full household, like 5 girls, her mum and 3 sisters, to nobody.
Yeah.
So her story and her journey is going to be really difficult, and that's what I think was really difficult.
Sure. What I really want to know is, what was the year that you last saw your dad and Anna?
Oh, I think I saw Anna before we went to Australia. So
what was the year then?
That was 2004.
Right.
2004.
Yeah. Last year you saw your dad?
We saw him in court when we were over in Australia. So that would have been 2004, mid-2004.
Yeah.
It would have been on the steps of the courts after we got the permission to leave the country, and that the last words really were, you won't amount to anything. You and your mum will not amount to anything. So that would have been 2003.
So if you then, with everything you've done now, then with the business you've grown, the beautiful family that you have, if he could see what you're doing, one, how would you hope he would feel? And 2, what would you say to him?
He'd be really proud. Like he was always my cheering with my ballet dancing. Like I know he was over the top in show. Like he would at the end of the shows come onto the stage and throw like roses and stuff, and you think, oh God, just, you know what I mean? Like
Dad.
But it's all a show. Like look at my daughter doing, whatever. So, but that was his way.
Yeah.
That was his way. So he would be really proud. He'd be really excited for the boys, because he always wanted boys. He had girls. He had 4 girls. Maybe that's what tipped him over the edge. I don't know.
Well,
no. It's crazy girls.
No, he was putting, like you mentioned, he was cheering for you. So obviously he felt something. It just, I suppose, didn't go in the direction you'd all hoped, I guess.
Yeah. He was always really proud, and I think he knew the struggles I had at school and how I'd really overcome them, and my determination. He was really proud with my academic and my school and the GCSEs I got. Like, he was really proud of all that, and he'd be really proud. But he would be a really great granddad. Like
Yeah.
he'd love to take them out, go to footy, you know, take them fishing, like do boy stuff with them because he's always wanted boys. Um,
So what would you say to him
and
then if he was sat right in front of you right now?
I'm
Because you've
trying to
just
be
said some
really.
amazing things, right? And you've painted a really good picture about him still in some
I know,
aspects.
I
So
know.
you
It's
know what I
because
mean? So what do you think you'd say?
I've just been able to, as I've got older and as I've want to grow, if I don't work on myself and work on the negative, I work on, I could be a totally different person. I could
You
be
could. You could be
dwelling in my
angry.
past, and I could be, you know, the depression or the
Totally.
a victim. But I'm like, well, I'm actually really thankful because I'm so driven. I'm so um want to really have an opportunity to be able to help people, and that's my next thing I'm going to talk about is my future, is because I now have this obligation to help people who was sort of in maybe in a similar situation or have never had that foot up,
Mm.
and be able to help that. So that I'm thankful for. So I'd actually, you know what, I'd like to thank him for my drive, but also for my creativity. Like my uncle is in film effects, so he did a lot of work with Jim Henson. He did Aliens, like it's in, you know, like animatronics, like the creature shop.
Yeah.
So he's done worked on Harry Potter and Phantom Menace, and he's done like a lot of really cool stuff all through art. So I used to go down and see him down in London and visit him and do, you know, go to his workshop and stuff like that, and I can see the modeling and worked with him, and that's where I get my art from, my art driven, my creativity from.
Yeah.
So that's from his side.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd say thank you to that, and I would hope that he has some regrets, that I would be like, do you know,
Yeah.
and hope that he can put the bullshit aside and actually speak to me honestly.
Yeah.
And if he was to maybe sort of apologize and be like, nothing will ever forgive him, but just that first step,
Yeah.
I think it'd be open to opening that conversation, and opening up to have that connection and things like that. And I often do now and again, like I've only maybe once in a few years, looked him up on Facebook, see if there's anything he's put up there. So I still have that real strong draw
Yeah.
to him,
Of course.
being his firstborn and having that relationship with him. And we're very similar, like we're both blonde, my mum's dark. So, you know what I mean? Like there's that,
I know what you
like
mean.
I look like him. I
Yeah.
have his, you know, I have his side of the family genes, which is really annoying because my mum's side's really tall and slim and we're all quite short and, you know, so yeah,
Beautiful.
so we have a lot of similarities in drive. He was always very driven to get out of Middlesbrough and work and get out. So I can see a lot of similarities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so with everything that you've been through, and anyone that might be listening who has a similar story, has got a friend that might be able to relate to your journey with separation, whether it's, you know, the struggles at school, being a young mum, maybe whatever you think resonates with people. What advice could you give to people? Some general piece of advice.
I think my main advice would be don't give up. Please just, you've got your drive and you've got your passion. Like I had to do something that I was really passionate about. So I always knew that I would do something in the art industry. And I wanted to, with my art school and stuff like that. I think if you've got that passion and you've got that, you know, people get are like, oh, you know, you're doing all these amazing things, but it's not a job. It's not a job to me. This is, you don't do a job.
No, I agree.
Do a passion and do something, and it's not about the money. The money will come later because you can get investors or you can get, you know, you can make
What
it
I
work.
need for this.
Yeah. I hope I can get you some investors.
Oh, thanks. As long as they don't take a piece of my podcast, but there we go.
But also as well, I wanted to, we didn't, like when I don't know whether first got here, and you know, remember I was doing my youth working? Yeah, and so do you remember when I talked about that very interesting job that I had with my youth work?
When we first met, you meant?
No. When we like had a chat about stuff. You remember that? Then I was the madam. Do you remember?
Yes, I do. Oh God, I forgot about that.
I didn't
Yes.
know if you wanted to talk about that. I'm like,
Oh, yeah, you could have said that.
can I? All right, all right.
Yeah.
Well, that's sort of like, I'll do it really
And why
quickly.
did I
But
not put that in my notes?
I don't know. That's the
I
juicy
thought
bit.
yeah, it is the juicy bit. You're right. Oh
That
my
is
God,
the juicy bit.
I was like, uh-oh. Did she go down that road? When we
No,
first met, I was thinking, did she go down that road?
no. When I first got here, when I went to do uni at RMIT, because I hadn't got my full uh visa, I had to pay full fees. So it was like 25 grand. So
Yes.
I had to come up with the cash quite quick.
Yeah.
And so I'm very resourceful, very hardworking. So I was working multiple jobs. And so I was doing my uni degree during my master's during the day, and then I was working nights. So I was I enjoyed it. It was lots of fun.
It's
So
not
I
what you
was a
think, people. It's not what you think.
I was a madam of a gay transsexual brothel in Melbourne.
That's right. Maybe it's not in
Um,
my notes because maybe you said, like, yeah, I'm not going to bring it up. So then anything I don't put in my notes, I don't bring up. So maybe, although it's weird that I
you
didn't
were
write
like,
that down.
oh wow,
Yeah.
tell me more. And I think that got me into my youth work, being a social worker. So what happened was my mum's partner, Barry at the time, was building these properties for these two gay guys. And these two gay guys had this parlour in South Melbourne. And they said they were talking about they needed someone who could manage the girls, manage the clients that came in, but weren't going to steal and they weren't going to sleep with clients either. You know, they wanted someone who was rounded and trustworthy. And Barry could hear, and obviously working nights, and it was well paid. And I was in his ear like, oh, I've got to get another job. I've got to be nights. I've got to do something on a night time. And it just sort of fitted. So he didn't tell me what it was. He just sort of gave me this little card, and I had to go down these alleyways in South Melbourne and came to this pink door, and I was like, oh, okay. And went in, and it was a parlour. And so back home in England, like they're illegal. But
Yeah.
in Australia, we had to go for my brothel's license. So I've done an actual test to get. I've got a physical driving license, but it says, but it's a brothel license. So I've got
Still
a
got it.
card. I should have found it out, shouldn't
Do you
I?
secretly have a brothel in Melbourne?
No, well, I got pushed. And someone wanted to open a brothel with me, and I was like, nah. I was like, nah, I've had enough. I've had enough.
Yeah.
So I did it for 3 years, and I had really strong relationships with all the girls. I call them my girls. My girls again. I'm adopting
Yeah.
girls
You
everywhere.
and your
I
girls,
know.
eh?
I'm the mother of everyone, and the boys, my gay boys. But I approached it as very. I was very diplomatic. I made sure everyone got jobs. There was no favourites. Everyone loved working my job because of my shift because I was very fair. I was very aware that some clients, some girls didn't like certain clients. Other madams were like, oh no, yeah, everyone has to do the jobs, and I was very like, no, you don't like him, that's fine, and would
Mm.
work around things with them and negotiate. And we'd have a really good atmosphere on shifts and things like that. And I had a really strong relationship with like immigration would come in all the time, and I'd have to deal with immigration, making sure no one was illegal. Also health department, had a really strong relationship with the health department. They would come in and make sure all our health checks were correct and things like that. So I learned a lot through all
Yeah.
them procedures as well. And we had a lot of policies and things like that as well. So it was ran very, very good. But it was also, if clients that would come in, I would support them through their journey as well. So you'd have, maybe a male coming in, they were very nervous, had never sort of experienced anything, and were gay but couldn't explore it. They were of an age that they were just you got married and you had kids,
Mm.
so you could see them coming in and they'd have the transsexuals, very feminine, and then they would slowly, and then I'm like, well, do you want to maybe meet the boys? You know what I mean? Like maybe like explore, and then I ended up becoming like a social worker to all these guys, and ended up like I remember like being out in a restaurant, and these two gay guys came up to me, like, oh my God, you changed our lives. Like we're now we've now got got married. We're now in gay relationships, but we couldn't have done that without you
No,
supporting us through that.
that's nice.
And I was like, wow. And also for the girls as well, like I was their mentor. I was also their reference. Like I have been everyone's reference for everything because a lot of experienced a lot of heartache and trauma from childhood, and also a lot of families have disowned them, and they've got nobody.
Yeah.
And it was really difficult to hear that they've got like their parents don't speak to them. They've really going through this transition on their own. And they needed the money for the transition, for the surgeries, and also for their lifestyle. Like they loved the Gucci and the designer clothes and all the makeup and the hair and the nails. Well, when you have to put that makeup on and that mask and that stuff, you know what I mean, all the time, it's very expensive. So they would have sugar daddies, and I'm like, it's a whole different world. But I supported a lot of people to get through, to get into uni, to get into college, as real estate references, stuff like that, and got people into jobs because they called me and said, oh, they've been working. I was like, oh yeah, they're great, great worker, but if it got them out of there and into different things, and I know from hands down, there's probably about 5 girls that I've helped through drug addiction, through getting help, and just really getting their life back on track.
Amazing.
And we've had some very sad times when we've had to have overdoses, and it is very drug orientated environment, and that is difficult to see as well. But they knew it was safe, and also as well, like because I used to live in St Kilda, I would see them all out in the streets. Are difficult, they're hard, you never know whose car you're going to get into. And so I remember when the girls were like, oh, it's so quiet, we're going to go and walk the streets, and I'm like, nah, you're not going. I said, if you go out on the streets, I won't let you on the next shift. And they knew I'd stand by it. So I said, stay here somewhere safe where I can monitor, we've got cameras, we know who's coming through the door. I said, I can call the police straight away, like we're, and we never had any trouble.
Yeah, wow.
There was no trouble.
You ran a tight ship.
At all. Yeah, and it was like, and sometimes it was cat fights, and they would have to be, some of the tranny girls were just huge as well, and I'm like trying to fight with them, and as soon as I spoke, I was like, right, that's enough. And because they knew I would be really strict, it was like herding cats and like kids, like what I'd learned with my sisters really helped with the job.
Yeah.
But we had a lot of fun. We'd go out partying a lot, and we'd have so much fun to get together, and but I think I could have got lost in that environment quite quick if I didn't have the strong personality.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying I didn't go out partying with them and do lots of stuff. We did, but I was always at uni the next day. I had to be, that's why I'm here.
Yes.
This is my goal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I was always up the next day, and I have family commitments or stuff like that. I didn't have children then.
Yeah.
And I think once I'd paid uni and come out of uni, so I was there for three years. And then I met Michael, my partner, my husband now, who's from Leeds.
Good old Leeds.
He really got me out of that because it could have spiraled, and because they would just party all night and then they'd sleep all week. They didn't matter. Back on Thursday, it didn't matter. But I had uni and other obligations. And then when I met Michael, it was really like, well, maybe, I need to settle down and start thinking about what I want to do after uni. And that's when I did my art schools. Then I started teaching in schools. And that's when it started being like the obligation of what I want to do myself and build. But the best was when we used to go out, and I'd be out with other friends, and I get a guy come up to me like, oh, I know you. It's like, where do I know you?
Oh.
And they'd be like coming like this, and they'd be like, oh, and then I go, oh, I've just got that face that people think they know me. It happens all the time, and it would dawn on them where they know me from, and they'd be with all their rugby lads. I remember this big rugby thing, and they'd just go white, and they'd just walk straight out, and I'm like, I'm not going to say anything. Like, I'm not going to, like, do you know what I mean? Like, they would, and like I'd have. Like I was doing this art in public places project, and we're at a train station. We were installing all these artworks, like regenerification of the thing, and the train master was introduced to me, and I was there with the architect and the designer, and and everyone, and he looked up and he just went, Helen. And he hadn't even, I miss Helen, but no one had introduced me to him. I just panicked, and I was like, "Hi, John," and they're like, "Oh, do you?" Because I knew everybody, and they're like, "Oh, how do you know each other?" And I was like, "Oh, I know his parents and his mum through some stuff," because he just was like, looked at me and was like, I was like, "Yeah,
Please
yeah." I
lie.
thought saying,
Please
"Well,
lie.
Barbie's available on Saturday if you want to come in," you know what I mean, like. But it's just a completely different world. But then when my other worlds collided,
That's when it had to end.
that's when it was like, parents or people I work with or people I'd see on TV. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
The world.
Yeah.
And so that was my
That was insightful.
life
Thanks for
for a
that,
few
Helen.
years in
Forgot about that part.
Australia.
You must have told me not to bring it up because it wasn't in my notes, and I put everything in my notes, and that I would have definitely put in my notes. So
I told you, I did tell you because
you
you were
did.
laughing.
No, you did. Yeah. But I didn't put it in my notes, so I'm assuming you probably didn't want to go with it, and that's why I didn't put it in there. You must have told me. Anyway.
Maybe you thought I don't know. I thought because she didn't mention it, and I thought, oh, maybe he doesn't want me to.
No, I don't
go
care.
down
You
route.
you go with whatever you want to go with. But I'm surprised. Normally, I tell the guest if you don't want me to bring it up, I won't put it in notes. So you
I
must
don't
have
like-
said,
I-
I'll let you know.
Yeah, well, I don't tell it. I don't tell people when I meet them. I never
You've
tell
told
them
them now, haven't you? Because you're on the
Oh,
podcast.
I told them now. It's
This
out.
might be
It's
the number
out there.
one podcast
Well,
in the world
I'm
by the
on
time
a
this is aired.
book, so maybe I'm positioning myself for the book. My friend is like, you should write a book about it because I've got some stories. The stories are amazing. But that's for the book. That's for the book.
Yeah. We'll put the book in the studio when it's out.
Yeah, for the book. So that's So future projects.
Yes.
Is
Let me explain why I say about future plans. It's because I want the viewers to understand that just because we're here talking, you've done it, you've not made it. You're doing well, but you've not made it. You've got future plans. You want to keep going. Entrepreneurial journey is all about the journey until the point we leave this planet. So, quickly, talk about your future plans and the journey Helen Pollard's going to go on.
So I'm really, really excited about the next stage, called Arty Play. So Arty Play is a full sensory play centre all around art. So it's taking Arty to the next level. So it'll be a warehouse space. And it's going to be, for, a really thought out, consulted psychologists and, pediatricians about what kids on the spectrum and every other kid, because they're going to love it, because it's going to be beautiful.
Yeah.
And, all to do with art, sensory, tactile, sound. But I can build one. I could go and get a warehouse and build one.
But
I want to do multiple of them.
I was going to say.
So we want to scale. I want to scale it. But the reason why I want to scale it is because there is a not-for-profit organisation that's going to be linked to it. So that's called Arty Minds. And Arty Minds is going to be to fund. So with our little Lenny, trying to get him diagnosed, was 3-year waiting list. We spent thousands on speech therapy. We've spent thousands on OT. Like, we don't get the NDIS. There's just so much we've been have to do with support him and to navigate it. So I feel there's a gap. There's a gap for supporting, and even partly seeing a paediatrician. Part of it's funded, but some of it's not. So there's families out there that are struggling to get a diagnosis. They're really struggling to pay for stuff like this. So Arty Minds will partly fund that as well, but it'll also be for education. It's going to be centres, like when the play centres close, to bring in information nights for teachers to teach them about. Because we've had a lot of dramas with Lenny at school. They just cannot teach him. It's just been awful. We've moved him schools now, but we're getting on track. Education for teachers, PD days, bringing in a space that can be cheaper or free, funded by Arty Minds, for paediatricians and psychologists that need to diagnose children. Imagine they're getting diagnosed in a beautiful play centre and a sensory centre, and they can be themselves instead of in a clinical room with a few toys. Like, it's not the same environment.
No.
Like the stuff that's going to come up is going to be better diagnosis, and then the rooms that are party rooms that make money on a weekend through all the kids' parties, which I've got experience of. You've got a Pacific pottery room, Pacific tie-dye room, glow-in-the-dark room, that we have kids' parties in. That will put the money over to Artie Minds. They can then use some of them party rooms that they have the food in to do their speech therapist sessions. So it's just that to me is, and going into schools as well, teaching about dyslexia and ADHD. People still don't know 100%. They still need to educate themselves on it. There's so many kids now that are coming through, and teachers are struggling. There's such a gap in the teachers, and we've come across it. And I was diagnosed with dyslexia, 30, 40 years ago. Yeah. Why are we still struggling with this? This is absolutely ridiculous. So, so that's my legacy. That's going to be my legacy.
Beautiful.
To scale that.
Love it. Absolutely love those future plans, and such purpose as well. And I think that ties nicely with the last final question of the show, is which I always ask at my guests, because it's a beautiful way to end. But your purpose, what is your purpose?
I think my purpose is to really support Lenny through his journey with having dyslexia, and with where I've experienced it, and get him on the right track, because he's got that personality where it could go the other way.
Yep.
But also as well to foster and just have them environments for other little neurodiverse little kids who want to be inspired by. Also, I want to inspire young women or young people that dyslexia is not a barrier.
No,
it's your superpower.
Absolutely.
Reframe it. Use it to your advantage, because you can do things on multiple levels. Yeah. You think differently. You can think outside the box. And I think it needs to educate parents to reframe it as, it shouldn't be seen as a disability. It's not a disability. No. It's actually amazing. What can these kids do? Yeah. And let's foster that. So when they say, do you have a disability? It's like, I cross out disability and I write superpower, and then I write my dyslexia.
Yeah.
Like on forms.
Absolutely.
Because it's straight away, it's seen as a negative learning difficulties. Yes, we do have learning difficulties, but we can do some other great, amazing stuff.
Yeah.
And I just hope that what I've achieved so far can just, inspire, even if it inspires one or two people, just to go, oh my God, all right, well, my little kid's got dyslexia. I was getting really, worried and nervous and upset, or just worried. You are worried, but get them reframing it, talking about it in a different way.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, such a pleasure, Helen. It's been amazing. It's really insightful, and thank you for sharing and being vulnerable on the podcast. I know sometimes it can be quite hard for people and daunting, but you did it beautifully. So thank you for sharing and coming on to my journey as well. I thank every guest for joining me on my journey, because if it wasn't for you guys sharing yours and being vulnerable, this wouldn't exist. So I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It's been great. It's been a long therapy session.
Yeah, well, kind of. Yeah, absolutely. I hope it's therapeutic for you, and a lot comes out and off the chest, and a lot of people and guests text me days later when those emotions have been processed, and they go, wow, I didn't expect to feel how I feel, and I go, and sometimes they thank me, and I go, no, you thank yourself. I just provided the platform, but other than that, I didn't do anything. I just heard.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you though, because I really think this is really meaningful, and I think a lot of people get a lot out of your podcast. So I'm going to go back and listen to a few more. I've listened to a few, and they're just inspiring. It just makes you go, everyone's been through a lot.
That's it.
Everyone, and what they've achieved when they've come out of it, that's just amazing. Yeah. I think it's great. So thank you as well.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. That's very kind. But a lot of people will get a lot from your journey, and even just looking at the entrepreneurial route, people will be able to take away so much. Those limiting beliefs, cut those limiting beliefs out of your life, and it's amazing. So thank you so much, and we'll stay on the line. But to everybody else, thanks for joining Helen and I. We'll do a little promotion, a little selfie off the air in a minute. But it's probably come out in a few months, but to everybody else, it's right now. So anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm rambling. But thank you for everybody for joining on Leading Our Own Way podcast. Make sure you come back next week for another amazing guest. But until then, keep leading your own way. We'll see you then. Bye. Wow, you guys, thank you for joining me. What an incredible journey we've been on with Helen over the last 3 episodes. From turning dyslexia into entrepreneurial strength, to building powerful communities, to navigating complex family relationships. Helen's story shows us, I think it's one thing that she shows, our greatest struggles really can come before our greatest gifts and powers in life. But we're not done yet. Because there's always a new guest. Anyway, you won't want to miss this week's episode. Please go back and watch part 1 and part 2. Don't forget, 2 comes before 3. Tune in and go and watch all that. Please share to anyone that you might be able to connect. Anyway, seriously, let me know about the purple lighting in the comments. Is it a vibe, or should I go back to boring old white light? Anyway, your feedback keeps me honest. Anyway, thanks for joining us this week on Leading Our Own Way with Helen and myself. And remember, keep leading your own way. We've got another amazing guest coming next week. Have a great weekend. Keep leading your own way. Oh, please subscribe to the channel. Everything's in the show notes. All the links there. Have a great weekend. See you soon. Thanks for listening and watching Leading Our Own Way. So we can stay together forever and share more incredible journeys, please subscribe to the channel. That way you won't miss next week's episode and what that amazing guest has to offer to the world. Please support Leading Our Own Way, and we'll get you on next week's episode.